Good morning. I invite us all to close our eyes for a moment for our meditation. I will take 3 deep breaths, and I invite you to take 3 deep breaths with me. How grateful I am to know that with every breath, we're able to release what came before this moment. I invite you to relax your bodies, be present in the here and now. Take another deep breath. And bring to your awareness the feeling of unconditional love. Allow your body to just relax into the stillness. Into the quiet of this moment. Into the grace of God. God is all that there is. God is divine love. God is peace. God is stillness. But it's the presence that is expressing in, through, and as us, that is us. It breathes us. It radiates through and as us. I invite you to open your mind and soften your heart and be present and then in your oneness with God, allow yourself to feel the oneness with God and tune into the radiance of God that is just expressing right where you are. So just take a moment and be silent. I invite you to come back to this space. Let's take another deep breath. How grateful I am that we have had this time to be quiet, to sit and listen to the presence and the power of God within us, to be at peace, mind, body, and spirit, to let go of everything that came before this moment, and will be present in the here and now. I give thanks for our time together. I give thanks for all that is occurring in this moment. I'm grateful that all that occurred in today's service. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I rest in the truth that all is well, and I relax and allow it to be. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, all. Good morning, all, and good morning, all.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. So, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore's virtual service. I am your host, Tracy Rhymes. Our senior minister, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, will deliver another powerful, inspirational message. Our guest musician is Tapora. Serving as practitioner is Heather Jones. Assisting with making this service open, inviting, and accessible to the deaf community are our sign language interpreters, Sonia Chavis and Faith Moore. Working behind the scene, holding things down, are Frank and Jim. Thank you all for your service today. Now it's time for Heather to lead us in prayer. Before she does, let me share some things about her. Heather Jones has been a licensed spiritual practitioner for 15 years. She resides in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, and she currently serves as licensed practitioner with both Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore and Agape International Spiritual Center. Heather practices recognizing the divine in, through, and as all. Committed to expressing and revealing spiritual truth, Heather is a dynamic practitioner who serves as a teacher, speaker, and spiritual counselor. She is known for her sacred processes of unconditional love, where she guides her clients to deepen spiritual awareness, healing, and transformation. She is available for individual spiritual counseling, workshops, and prayer.
Good morning. I invite you to close your eyes with me. I invite you to take a few deep breaths. I'm so grateful and so thankful that we have this breath, that we don't even have to think about breathing. Our bodies breathe us. How grateful I am for this day, for this moment. How grateful I am to know that right where we are, the presence, the power, the love, the light, and the joy of God is. God is everywhere present in His fullness. God is infinite intelligence. God is unconditional love. God is everywhere. There's no place where God is not. I know that we are God expressing. We are the light of God. We are the joy of God. We are the mouthpiece of God. God in us, as us, is us. We are anchored in the presence of God. We are one with the one. And so I bless our time today. I bless this service. I know that we are open and available and receptive. I bless Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I bless the musician. I bless Tracy. I bless everyone within the sound of my voice. I know that this service is the best service ever, that we are ready and we are given and we are receiving. So I give thanks for this. I rest in that goodness, the goodness of God that is happening in this moment and during this service. I know that all is well, and I'm thankful for this. With gratitude, I release this word into the law, knowing it is good right now, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Thank you, Heather. The Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore The Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore's community honors the world's religions. One tree, many branches. One mountain, many paths. One world, many religions and spiritual traditions. With the lighting of these candles on the first Sunday of each month, we not only honor each person on their select path, but we also bless them and recognize the light, the love, and the life-affirming nature of spirit as it shows itself in each path, in each practice, and in each person. I have some announcements for you. The Science of Mind textbook exploration group, facilitated by Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, meets on Wednesdays, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The investment is a love offering directly to Reverend Dr. Ray. For more information and to join, send an email directly to rev.raymont@cslgreaterbaltimore.org or raymontanderson@raymontanderson.com. Thursday night study group facilitated by licensed practitioner Dr. Ronnie Ellington. This is a perfect opportunity to dive deeper into the Sunday messages delivered by Reverend Dr. Ray and others. For more information, contact Dr. Ronnie at sisterroni@aol.com. Love offerings are appreciated. Put CSLGB study group in the subject so your email is easily identified. Yeah, one of those words. You got it. Stop it. He already starting with me. I know y'all can't see him. For more information about the CSLGB's spiritual activism group, the CSLGB Book Club, which meets the first and third Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the LGBTQIA2+ affinity group, and more. Visit our website to get additional information. Alrighty, now, the 2021 spiritual journals are in. Y'all didn't sound excited. Okay, that's all right. This is a weekly journal to support your spiritual journey. It has at-a-glance calendars for 2021, the CSL monthly and weekly global themes. There are 2 pages each week for your notes on inspiring CSL talks, personal reflections, gratitude, and goals. You can order today at shop.csl.org. The cost is $14.95, so you can start purchasing for several individuals and yourself. Okay, so membership is belonging, connection, and spiritual growth. Anytime is a good time to become a member. You can do so virtually because the Discovery class is available online. Contact us at info@cslgreaterbaltimore.org for more information. Sign up for the CSLGB newsletter so you can stay informed about classes, gatherings, virtual meetings, and life-changing happenings in your CSLGB community that are not mentioned on Sunday. Visit www.cslgreaterbaltimore.org for more information and to sign up. I have a question for you. You ready? Do you subscribe to CSLGB's YouTube page? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram? If not, we encourage you to subscribe and follow beginning today. All right. Stay tuned. There's a book titled Living Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, PhD, that will be discussed. So get your copy because there will be a discussion on November 8th. There's more about this to come, so just stay tuned. And if you have the newsletter, hint, hint, you can find out more. The next board meeting is November 15th. Mark your calendars. Everyone is encouraged to attend, if at all possible. This way you can stay informed and learn ways you may be able to serve with such things as the new building search committee, the community service, and social event planning, to name a few. There are things for you to do and get involved with and learn about. Stop by. If you've never been, this is a good time to stop by. So, we do it every week, so get ready. 1, 2, 3. Prayer works. I don't think y'all really felt that, so let's do it one more time. Prayer works. There we go. Y'all awake now. Y'all are awake now. We, as a community, to continue to treat and move our feet, knowing the truth for everyone around the planet. Practitioners are available after today's service for one-on-one prayer, and prayer requests can be sent at any time. to info@cslgreaterbaltimore.org. I did it that time. Okay, our musical guest is Tapora. Nursed on spirituals, jazz, folk, and formerly trained in classical music and composition at Peabody and Oberlin Conservatory. Tapora is a singer, songwriter, and pianist whose music is a living journal of her life as a social justice advocate, healer, and earth-loving mama. Projects include scoring a documentary about women's empowerment after trauma, as well as a collection of uplifting, healing songs titled Love Rising, performed at ashrams, wellness events, healing circles, and centers for spiritual living. Tapora is a founding member of the Empathy Project, a group of songwriters encourage healing and dialogue about trauma through concerts and workshops. She is also a member of the Baltimore Songwriters Association. Tapora is now working with a music licensing agency out of LA, studying music writing for film, TV, and ads. Check her out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/TEPORAH music. Thank you so much, Tapora. Let's walk together. Now, Heather will lead us in a spiritual practice.
Again, how grateful I am to be here. I invite you to come back to your space and close your eyes. Put your hand over your heart if that feels pleasant for you. I invite you to put your hand over your heart. And I invite you to take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale out. Inhale again. Exhale out. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. I invite you to open your heart to enter the peace and the power of God. Allow yourself to become aware of the feeling of unconditional love. Relax your body. Be present in the here and now. Allow yourself to feel what it feels like to be loved unconditionally. Imagine being the love that a pet has for you. The unconditional love of a pet. The unconditional love you may have for a child. The unconditional love felt by God or felt by a beloved parent or grandparent. Allow yourself to sink into that energy of peace, of love, of support, and of stillness. this place of unconditional love, I invite you to place your hand over your heart and silently say to yourself, I love you. I love you. And say your name. I love you. I love you. Since you're in the privacy of your own space, I invite you to just tenderly touch your face or some part of your skin and just say, I love you. I love you so much. Continue to just say, I love you out loud. I love you. I love you. I love you. Allow yourself to relax in that feeling of love. As you increase and feel that energy of love, continuing to say, I love you, I love you, I love you, to yourself. I invite you to imagine extending this love to the people in your immediate space. Feel the love and the blessing and the good intention that you have for those in this space. Let's send a blessing to ourselves first. I bless you. And then send a blessing to the people around you. I bless you. And extend blessings to everyone in this service. Open your heart and feel this energy of love and blessings for everyone within the sound of this, my voice. Everyone on Zoom, everyone on YouTube, everyone on Facebook and Instagram. Just, I love you. I bless you. I love you. I bless you. And I invite you to extend this love to the people in your neighborhood. And imagine sending an energy of love and blessing to your neighbors, near and far. And send a blessing to people all over the planet. I love you. I bless you. May you be well. May you be happy. I love you. And now I invite you to send a blessing to someone who may not like you. To send a blessing of well-being. I bless you. I bless you. May you be well. And now I invite you to send a blessing to one that you may feel as an evildoer. Send a blessing. Increase that energy of love. And send a blessing to any being on the planet that you may feel has evil expressed through them. Just know that we are all one with God. We are all God expressing. And we are that love. We are the vortex and the energy and the presence of love. And we can send and express love to that other person. Just love and bless the planet. Love and bless ourselves. Love and bless our family members, our friends, and the people who we don't like. We just love and send love and bless everyone. I'm grateful that we have this opportunity to anchor love, to feel love, to be love, to give love, and to receive love. God bless us all. So it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather. Now, it's time for a word from the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore's senior minister. Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and self-awakening, he lives his bliss as a teacher, mentor, speaker, minister, and so much more. His mission is to live, move, and be an active, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered, that's the acronym, member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities. Come do what you do.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? So, we're at the end of the month. It's October. Happy Halloween. So today, ending our month with the idea of cosmic connections. Today we're still talking about bridges, but we're talking about bridges that last. And, well, just follow along with me. Let us read together. Think of the world's strongest, most enduring bridges. What makes them last through the test of time? A good foundation, the right materials, an engineer inspired to build something that will last, and a team who checks on it every so often and repairs as needed. The same can be said for building lasting, heartfelt, and healthy relationships. Healthy relationships. Building bridges / relationships that last is the process of creating sustainable, collaborative community partnerships where we are building bridges in a world that works for everyone. So yes, we are once again talking about that idea of relationship, because relationships are a very good, great, effective way of determining where we are in our consciousness. Are we able to reconcile relationships? Because keep in mind, last week we talked about forgiveness. Are we able to reconcile relationships, including the relationship we have with self? Or are we content with othering, putting people on the other side of the bridge and blowing up the bridge so that there is no connection? Tapora talked about, I am your bridge. And someone may say, I don't want you to be the bridge. That's why I turned the light off. The lighthouse is off. I don't want you to find me. And I blew up the bridge so you can stay where you are right now. Leave me alone. Right? So we know that there are people who don't want to be connected to other people. There are people who don't like being connected to themselves. So this idea of being in relationship is a great litmus test to determine, are my relationships acidic? Are they toxic? And what do I want to do about it? But before we go there, let's go back to talking about an actual bridge, the actual thing that we travel across, the Bay Bridge, the London Bridge, the San Francisco Bridge. Like, there are bridges all over the place. Pittsburgh, where I'm originally from, I forget how many bridges we got, but the city is known as the city of bridges because there are so many of them. Why do we have bridges? If today were a day of quizzing, where Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson were asking you questions and quizzing you, what would you say? Why do we have bridges? What is the purpose and the function of a bridge? Why do they exist? If you are quick with your fingers, feel free to type something in the chat to say, what are bridges for? Why do we have them? What function do they serve? I'm breathing while waiting to see if anyone comes through. And if not, then I'm going to continue. Bridges connect.
Take us to the promised land. Connection. To go from here to there.
Gracias. So bridges connect one point in space to another point in space. So someone said to the promised land. That would mean on this side of the bridge, I am in the land that is not the promised land, and the bridge connects me to point B, which is the promised land. This connects me from one side of the road to the other side, like 2 points in space, the bridge connects us. Why though? One, it connects these points in space, one, to shorten the distance between point A and B. For example, if someone is on whichever side of the Bay Bridge, and the Bay Bridge did not exist, how long would it take someone to travel from one side of the river to the other side of the river? Are they traveling by boat? Well, how long does that take? Unless you're doing the Jesus method of traveling on water and you put on your Jesus running across the water tennis shoes, you're not traveling, you can't walk across the river. So how long does it take you to get across the river via water? How long does it take you to travel around on land to get to the other side, right? So it's to shorten the distance. It is also to facilitate easier travel because water may separate us, a ravine may separate us, a valley may separate us. There's something that separates, and the bridge is there to circumvent whatever that is, the ravine, the valley, the water, the cavern, the whatever it is. The bridge serves to make it easier. Keeping in mind, this month, once again, we're talking about cosmic connections. And I know, because I've had several conversations with a variety of people who have not really thought about this idea of cosmic connections as the art of building bridges. Because if you think about, once again, as I always say, everything in our physical world is some form of a demonstrated example of how spirit works. So if we build bridges, then it means spirit, God, life itself, is building connections of awareness. Spirit is infinitely connected to itself everywhere. It's not possible for God to not be connected. In the same way that it is not possible for one side of the Bay Bridge to be disconnected from the other side, because it's still connected. There is still a landmass underneath the water that still connects one side to the other. There is still a connection. The water is touching both sides. There is still a connection. It's not like there's complete and absolute void all the way through and there is no connection. Well, for that to happen, then it means the earth would be split in two, right? But it's all connected. If you go deep enough, there is one core that connects the entire planet to itself. Spirit is connected. But what spirit is doing in, through, and as us is showing how we are connected. How are we connected to the earth, to the air, to the stars, to one another? How are we connected? So this idea of cosmic connections, the art of building bridges, even in the graphic that was given to us, there's a bridge and two bears to remind us that the art of building bridges is infinitely the art of demonstrating, creating, and manifesting a world that works for all. In order to do that, there is work that is invited and called of us to do, to step into, to roll up our sleeves and be involved. Ernest Holmes says in the book, This Thing Called You, there is but one presence in the universe. Pause for a second. Because keeping in mind that Holmes was speaking to a select audience, what we know now is that we can even extrapolate from that. There is but one presence that is in, through, and as the universe itself. Since it is in and through everything, it must be in and through you. This presence manifests itself in, and through all forms, all people, all conditions. This presence is life itself. Its nature is love and givingness. How are we connected to love? How are we connected to givingness? How are we connected to the is and all of, all people, all relationships, all situations, all experiences? How are we connected? If it's showing up in our life, then there is a connection. What do we do? How do we reconcile? How do we understand that connection? How do we use this information of recognizing there is only one presence, God itself, that is living, moving, being, breathing itself as me, and as the person that I don't like and the person who doesn't like me? It's showing up in, through, and as the relationships, the traumas. It's present always. How am I being invited to move through this? How am I being invited to recognize that I am it? I am it. You are it. But what is it other than you are God? Well, let's pause. If God is all there is, remember the initial slide when we talked about building bridges that last through the test of time. And I mentioned the architects and the materials. Well, if you are it, then you are the builder of bridges. And you are the materials that the bridges are made of, and you are the bridge itself. Because if God is all there is, then you are it as well. You are all of it. Every aspect of it, every part of the relationship, every way that we show up, we are all of this. Because once again, let's pause for a second. The architect who designs the bridge is using materials that someone said, well, you know what? Wait a minute. If we use brick to make a bridge, then if we use wood to make a bridge, then if we use wood and rope to make a bridge, if we use iron ore or steel or whatever to make a bridge, we can mold it. So even the architect recognizes that the materials cannot be used until the architect recognizes that the materials can be used. Which means there has to be a consciousness even within the architect to align with the materials that are being used. To then design the bridge, which also exists within the mind, the consciousness of the architect, because the architect sees a thing that is not. The bridge doesn't exist right now. They see a thing that is not, but they see it as if it already were, and then they make it so. So even when we're talking about an actual bridge, the one who is building the bridge on a certain level of consciousness is all of this as well. But you are it. And if you are it, then you must recognize that you are how the creative process is building relationship, building and acknowledging cosmic connections. We have to recognize that all that is what we are. Now, I'd like to talk to you about the Tao of, as Tracy would say, the acronym. The Tao of, and she's laughing at me right now. I don't know if y'all can hear her laughing at me, but she's laughing at me. She's always laughing at me. I'm going to ask Tapor to write a song about my sister laughs at me so much, and I don't know why she laughs at me so. Anyhow, the Tao of building a bridge, B-R-I-D-G-E, bridge. What is that? The acronym. Well, let's clarify. What is the bridge? The bridge is the beautiful relationships, intimately developing, growing, and engaging. Beautiful relationships, intimately developing, growing, and engaging. But what's that got to do with anything? What is it for? What does that bridge do? That bridge is about connection. Connection with ourself, connection with the divine, connection as the divine, and connection with all that is. That means, how do you connect with your home? How do you connect with your car? How do you connect with your employer or employee? How do you connect with your piano? How do you connect with your kitty cat? How do you connect with anything and everything at any given moment? connections. Well, how do you build this bridge? Well, you build it by identifying who or what it is that is to be connected. You then design it, you design the foundation, you design the bridge, you build the foundation, you construct it, and then you use it. Having a connection, having a bridge, and not using the bridge is sort of a moot point. Why have a bridge if not to cross it? Why build a door if not to go through it? So the purpose of the connection is to be able to utilize the connection, utilize the bridge, utilize the relationships. Well, how do you maintain the bridge? You maintain the bridge by communication. You revisit the idea of what does it mean to communicate verbally, in sign language, via a text, via a letter, a message on social media, but it's how do we communicate with one another. You work on your interactions and adjust as needed. You know, I've been noticing there's some tension. Revisit that interaction and adjust however you need to adjust, which sometimes means asking questions. So I noticed there was some tension with us when we were arguing about the mac and cheese and the meatloaf, and I just would like to revisit that situation and ask some questions about it. Were you upset with me when I joked about the meatloaf? Were you upset about that? So sometimes it's asking questions, and I'm laughing because Tracy made meatloaf, and I'm actually using that as an example. But no, we did not argue about it, just so you know.
Nope.
And then sometimes beyond the questions, it's forgiveness, both asking for and offering forgiveness. But knowing that sometimes you don't have to ask for it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But it's about forgiving. Like I said last week, it's about getting the venom out of your body. And sometimes it's going into healthy conflict and confrontation. Sometimes it means going directly at the issue, the experience, and addressing it accordingly. There was an article in Popular Science magazine, April 22nd, 2019, and the reason I'm sharing this is because, once again, I'm using the example of an actual bridge to metaphysically drive a point home. They're talking about our old bridges and how they are failing and falling and crumbling and what we can do to fix them. Well, let's think about that. If we reinsert the word bridges, the acronym, bridges being relationships, our beautiful relationships, the intimacy, the connection, all of that is failing. It's falling, it's crumbling. What can we do to fix the beautiful relationships that we have? Well, based on the actual bridge and what's going on, the old and current bridges, there are limited lanes that are causing an issue. The bridges are too weak, and there are no backups when something happens with the bridge. Well, metaphysically, what does this mean for me? Number one, limited capacity or avenues, ways of connecting. Our ability or willingness to connect and the foundation of that willingness and ability is what is weak. And there are no alternate routes to connect when there is a breakdown in our relationship. If there's a breakdown, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to text you. I don't want a phone call. So there's a breakdown in how we have an alternate way of connecting with one another. The article then goes on to talk about our future bridges and how we can better improve them. One, they say, create car-free levels. So there are multiple levels to the bridge, and there are some levels where there are no cars. Also create robot-only zones where there are robots that travel the roadways. And then make quake-resistant supports so that when the bridge shakes, it doesn't crumble or fall. Metaphysically, one, freeing the congestion in our connections. We're going to talk more about this. Having boundaries. Number two, robot-only zones. Number 2, having boundaries and knowing what is our lane versus another person's lane. 3, having a foundation that is resistant to the various quake of life. When life quakes, it moves, it shakes. How do we create a life where even though it shakes, our foundation is not moved by it, it is not weakened by it? And using materials that are resistant to life's shakiest moments. Love. That is eternal. It is resistant to those moments because love is what God is, and the quaky, shaky, rocky moments cannot weaken that. So let's build relationships on love, using love as the materials. London Bridge is falling down.
Falling down.
And Tracy's glad about that. Because Tracy does not like being connected to certain people. Matter of fact, I don't know. Never mind. I mean, that's a really good question. We might have to chat about that later.
Ooh.
But there is an aspect of many people we know, Tracy included,
Yep.
who are sort of happy that the bridges in certain relationships have disintegrated and crumbled. But let's examine this concept through the lens of what we just talked about. Limited capacity or avenues of connection. When we are easily depleted and when we lack self-care, when there is trauma, that's when our capacity weakens, our capacity lessens. We don't want to be connected when we feel depressed. We don't want to be connected when we are sitting in the trauma. We don't want to be connected when we are feeling depleted because I haven't taken care of myself. Number 2, our willingness to connect and the foundation is weak when there is resentment, fear, anger, unclear or non-existent boundaries. That makes the foundation and the willingness to connect weak. 3, there are no alternate routes to connect us when there is a breakdown. Once hurt, we shut down and close ourselves off. Tracy's nodding her head like with a really big nod. A nod so big that if she didn't have a neck bone, her head would roll off. Just letting you know this.
You can't prove it.
So these are the things that we are being invited to work on because, once again, Popular Science Magazine was saying, old bridge, how do we improve them? New bridge, how do we improve them? Freeing the congestion in our connections by engaging in self-care, pouring into ourselves first, and giving from the overflow. Number 2, how do we improve these new bridges? Having boundaries and knowing what is our lane versus another's lane. Healthy and effective boundaries, doing what is ours, not theirs to do. For example, how many times have parents done their child's laundry, which is the child's responsibility, but the parent's done it? Or the parent has taken care of the family pet rather than the child taking care of the family pet. Or the parent does, or the teacher does, or the supervisor does when it's the employees or the neighbors or the other person's. That's their lane. That's their thing. How many times have we stepped into someone else's lane rather than staying focused in our own lane and doing what is ours to do while acknowledging and praying for them to do what is theirs to do, but staying in our own lane? Healthy and effective boundaries. Number 3, having a foundation that is resistant to the quakes of life. Having practices that nurture and repair relationships, such as nonviolent communication, forgiveness, prayer, ho'oponopono, the meta prayer. There are many ways, but it is having various avenues of how do I connect, methods of how do I connect, how do I restore, rebuild, refurbish, whatever this bridge of connection is. I'm connected to whomever. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm connected to Hitler. Say it's the World War, Hitler's doing what he's doing. Well, clearly I must be connected to him, We're on the same planet. We're connected. We're both alive at the same time. We're connected. God is all there is, which means what he is and what I am must be God in form. Even though what he is doing and what I am doing are two different things, we are still intimately connected. I don't want to be, but you are. But I don't like him. You're still God, he's still God. But he's so evil. How he's using the powers of creative power in action and the use of the law, yeah, it may be less life-affirming, but he's using the same law that you're using. Same creative process. I don't like that. Well, maybe you need to ho'opono yourself. Maybe you need to meta prayer. Maybe you need to forgive. Having a variety of methods, tools, techniques, technologies of how do we move through. Now, it doesn't mean he and I are going to go out to have coffee or tea, but it means I no longer allow him, that trauma, that experience, that situation, that whatever, to determine or dictate how I show up. Because for as long as I do not forgive, and as long as I involve in conflicted, violent communication, then I'm carrying the weight of the trauma, the PTSD, the depression, the angst, the whatever it is. I'm carrying it with me. I'm carrying the toxins in my body. Even though I know I could get them out, I'm not. Being able to practice this is what helps us to heal. Ernest Holmes says, no greater good can come to you than to know that the power already within you is the power to live, the power to create. No greater good can come to you than to know that the power already within you is the power to live and the power to create. Not only to create for yourself, but for others. A world that works for all, but for others. The power to do good. The power to heal. The power to prosper. You are to realize that the power within you is a divine authority. It is a dispenser of the divine gifts. It is a giver of life, of joy. It proclaims the kingdom of heaven, the harmony of the soul, and the unity of all being. It is who and what we are. And we breathe because we must also recognize that there are bridges to our trauma. There are bridges that connect us to our past in ways that it causes us to stay in the past and relive the past. You see, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, if I were to ask, what is the significance of that bridge in the history of the United States of America? We understand that the bridge is a demonstration, a representation, a bridge to the past of segregation, slavery, hatred, racism, white supremacy. The bridge is a tether to that trauma. Not all bridges are bridges that build connection. Some bridges say, boy, you are to stay on that side of the bridge, because the moment you come over here and it's sundown, you know we got sundown laws. Not all bridges are healthy. Some bridges serve more as a disconnect, but we do our damnedest to stay connected to the traumas of the past. What did I say last week? Those who do not remember their past are doomed to repeat it. So we hold on to the memory because I don't want you to hurt me again. So we hold on to the trauma and we refuse to let it go. But we must recognize that there are people who have demonstrated already ways to transmute and transform one type of bridge to another. And these people, such as, you do know who this is, right? John Lewis, the maker of Good Trouble, serves as a reminder that he has an intimate relationship with that bridge. And as he grew in consciousness and in activity, he recognized that my job is to not just simply cross the bridge, but mine to do is to become the bridge itself. How often are we asked and encouraged to become the bridge, not just to cross it, not just to traverse it, not just to admire it, but we are the ones who are called to become the bridge in order to manifest, create, and demonstrate a world that works for all. We are the bridge itself. The moment we recognize and know I am that which is, then I must recognize that the infinite connection of God that is, then I must be it because I am what it is. What do I do with that? How do I now serve? How do I move through the world recognizing and knowing that I am the bridge itself? I am the designer and the architect. I am the one who chooses to communicate with a loved one. I am the one who chooses to forgive. Even if I and that loved one, family member, never speak again, I must build a bridge called forgiveness. And I must be the ambassador. I must be the bridge itself. I must be the demonstration of it. Ernest Holmes says in the Declaration of Principles, first published in Science of Mind magazine, we believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. When we get to know ourselves, getting to know me, getting to know all about me, that means I'm getting to know God as me. That's what that means. The indwelling presence. And then God is intimate in, through, and as each and every one of us. We recognize it and we feel it. Psalms 133, verse 1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in harmony and unity and oneness. How good and pleasant it is when God, as the people, live together in unity, harmony, and oneness. How good and pleasant it is when I, as God in the flesh, live in harmony, unity, and oneness with all. And we breathe as we move into our application and practice. This week I invite us to make a list of the ways, any of the possible ways to connect with people. Phone calls, Facebook, Zoom, writing a letter. What are the ways that you use or can use to connect with people? How many can you name? How many can you come up with? Identify some ways that you avoid connecting and the reasons that you avoid connecting. Maybe you avoid by blocking people. Maybe you avoid by ignoring calls or turning the phone off. Maybe you avoid connecting with people through some form of manipulation, covert narcissism. Maybe that's your method of keeping people at bay. Maybe you're just simply not in the mood to talk. Maybe we believe different things. You're a Republican, I'm a Democrat. You're a Buddhist, I'm a Christian. You're black, I'm white. We believe different things. Maybe that's what's keeping the connection from occurring. Maybe they hurt me. Plain and simply, they abused me, they hurt me, they traumatized me. I don't want to be connected to them. Identify some of the ways that you avoid connecting and some of the reasons why you do so. Identify 3 to 5 relationship triggers and what you can do to heal them. What are things that occur in relationships that trigger you? Maybe when someone lies, it triggers you and you don't want to be in a relationship with them. Well, how do you heal that? Maybe when someone is unreliable. Well, you said you were going to do this. Didn't Don Miguel Ruiz say, be impeccable with your word? If you say it, I should be able to trust it, and you said it. Yeah, I'm going to be there to help you on Monday. Lunes. I will be there to help you on Monday. Espanol, lunes. And lunes comes, and miércoles comes, and domingo comes, and like viernes comes around again. And I'm like, dude, it's been 3 months, and you're like, oh, my bad. You're unreliable. I don't trust you, and I don't want to, because I can't trust you. I can't trust your word. I don't want to be connected. Maybe it's politics. Maybe as soon as someone mentions something that's political, you're like, boom, throw up, there's a wall, stay away from me. Maybe it's a difference in religion. Whatever it is, identify 3 things that trigger. Identify ways that you currently nurture, currently build, currently strengthen your relationship to yourself and to yourself, meaning your connection with God, and what you can do to more consistently do this. What are the ways that help each of us to remind ourselves, to remember, to be aware, to know who and what we are, to dive deeply into that and to recognize it. And once again, even though I know Dr. Ronnie is going to go over these slides on Thursday for those who are assembled, if there's ever a time where you want a copy of them, contact Tracy or I, and we will make sure you get a copy of them. Either in PDF form or the actual PowerPoint slide. We can email it to you. Today's declaration or affirmation, I will read it first, and together we will declare it. I am an important part of the whole in a world that works for everyone. Who I am makes a difference. Together, I am an important part of the whole in a world that works for everyone. Who I am makes a difference. And we breathe, recognizing in this moment that the next person you are about to hear is a person who makes a difference. She has made a difference in my life from the moment I first met her. She makes a difference just by being herself. She makes a difference by the music she offers. She makes a difference simply by being the amazing and beautiful person she is. So at this moment, let's welcome Tapora back to the stage and give her some love. Yes, Tapora. Amazing. Thank you, Tapora. I love this song. Always have. My former sign language performance company used to perform that song. It's a beautiful song. And it always reminds me, it's like the unity prayer that we sing, or many people in New Thought sing, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And I always say, well, yes, there is peace on earth because it has begun with me. And so when you say one day, for me, today is one day. Like today's not 2 days, today's not 4 days, today is one day. And on this one day, I get to choose how I'm going to show up. So when I hear that song, like it always reminds me, today is a choice point for me. So let's breathe and simply breathe that in, recognizing the isness and allness of God, breathing itself as us. And that today is the one day we get to choose. Today, this moment, this breath, we get to align with what we know to be true. We get to align with love and joy and connection and intimacy. Today, this one day, this infinite eternal now. And we breathe. As we move into, before I move into tithing, offering, and donating, Tapora asked the question, what is the difference between metta prayer and prayer? So metta prayer, M-E-T-T-A, prayer, is a Buddhist form of prayer where you are acknowledging that I am seeking the highest and best for myself, for another, and for all. May I have happiness and peace. May you have happiness and peace. May all beings have happiness and peace. Whereas a more traditional prayer, or even if it's a spiritual mind treatment, is a specific, in this moment right here and right now, I acknowledge that the isness and allness of God is present, and that everyone on this Zoom call, everyone gathering with us right now on this Zoom call, must be the divine in expression. And the divine in expression, knowing its own heart as them, knows their needs, whether it's money, whether it's health, whether it's power, whether it's presence. That which God is as them knows, and in this moment I recognize that it is fulfilling that need. It is answering their prayer. It is showing itself. That's how they're different. Just to clarify. So, tithing, offering, donating, sowing seeds into your beloved spiritual community that it may continue to do the good work that it is doing and the good work that it will continue to do. Let us revisit the idea, the reminder that the practitioners have pledged $5,000 to the expansion of CSL Greater Baltimore, being mindful that the expansion does not necessarily mean that this money goes specifically to the new building. This money goes to all of the ways that CSL Greater Baltimore expands into being a global community, or as I like to say, an intergalactic community. I am already welcoming the aliens from Neptepular and Klingon who will come to visit. I have been practicing. Like I've been practicing so that when they land, I mean, Jim and I might be the only two who speak Klingon, but I'm ready for them as an interstellar, intergalactic, interdimensional spiritual center called CSL Greater Baltimore. The practitioners have pledged $5,000 to that expansion. And Dr. Ronnie said, I want us to demonstrate, manifest, and pledge 4,000, because the last time we gathered it was in the threes, 4,000 by the end of October. And where are we now? $4,172.50. Put it together for your practitioners of CSL Greater Baltimore. And keep it going because our beloved community has pledged an additional $500 to match the $5,000 the practitioners. So give it to the beloved community that is also tithing, offering, and sowing seeds into the community, knowing we are here to do a mighty work and that we agree and we align and are grounded in demonstrating a world that works for all. But how do you give, you may be wondering? PayPal is an option. Text messaging is an option. Via the postal mail service is an option. If at any time you want to know these or more or other possible ways, check out cslgreaterbaltimore.org/giving or send an email or phone call or smoke signals to your minister or someone on the board, and we will make sure you get that information. Keeping in mind also that you are able to select, like you can put in the memo section and select. You may want to divide your offering in thirds. Emergency care, hospitality, building fund, whatever it is, you can designate a certain portion or all of your tithes to a specific area. And when you show up at the board meeting, you are also privy to the information of where and how the money is being used to keep the center open, alive, and thriving as we operate from the overflow. Our prosperity declaration, taking in a breath as we prepare to declare what we know as our own prosperity individually and collectively. I joyfully, consciously, and gratefully participate in the law of circulation. I trust in the spiritual principle that says, as I sow into my beloved community, I demonstrate my awareness of standing not only in the flow, but as the flow itself. As I sow of myself, my time, my treasure, my talent, I demonstrate my support and engagement in my community's vision, mission, and purpose. I actively give as a demonstration of manifesting, of reaping the harvest of a world that works for all. And we breathe, recognizing this amazing prosperity, opulence, abundance, wealth is showing up in, through, and as us, not just financially, but also physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, relationally. It's showing up in all of the ways that God, as us, as a multi-dimensional presence, because we are not just our bodies, we are not just our emotions, we are not just our thoughts, we are that and so much more. And so we anchor and ground and we breathe, recognizing that all of these areas demonstrate prosperity, demonstrate wealth, demonstrate that we are standing not only in the flow, but as the flow of creation itself. And we breathe as we prepare to step into Tracy's favorite part of the service. Just saying. Tracy loves this part of the service because she gets to remind you, make today awesome. Make today an awesome day. Do what it is you need to do to care for yourself, to love on yourself, to pour into yourself, to make today an amazing, beautiful, powerful day. Reminder that today after service, we have practitioners available for one-on-one spiritual mind treatment, prayer. So if you want prayer, type into the chat box that you are staying for prayer, and Tracy will split you up into, I don't know how many practitioners we have on who are doing prayer.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out, but we'll split you up and put you with someone. So just make sure you let us know that. Other than that, in a moment, the mics will come off. You get to spread your love, your joy, your amazingness with one another, love on each other. But before we go into that, let's simply anchor once again into the what we know as the allness of creation, living, moving, and having its beingness, in, through, and as all that we are. God, in me, as me, is me. That truth about myself is true for everyone on this call, everyone gathering in the CSLs around the world. It is true for everyone, everywhere, true for all that is, because all there is God. Knowing this, I surrender it into the law that receives always and demonstrates accordingly in a mathematical, scientific precision that says yes. So that means this benediction, this prayer, and all the prayers done by Heather earlier, and all of the music that Japora sang, and the message that I gave, and all the comments in the chat box, that all of this amazingness of God is already answered prayer. And so we simply receive God's response as us, to us, through us. And we allow it to be by saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Blessings, one and all. Have an amazing day. Make today great. See you soon.
See you soon.
I'm so glad we had this time together. Just to have a laugh and sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long.
All right.